and gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to another edition of That Millwall podcast. Late substitution to the lineup of the Friday Night Live. Mickey is somewhat unavailable this evening. To start us off, anybody who can come up with the most creative reason as to why Mickey isn't joining us tonight will win a prize. But tonight I'm joined by my glamorous assistant, Joe Zampa. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Well, let's be honest, he ain't giving Joe Edwards any advice, is he, at the moment when he tips? So hopefully it'll be nowhere near him for tomorrow. But I'm good. Feeling quite nervous about tomorrow, but also sort of excited, sort of a bit of mixed emotions there, really. But I'm sure we'll talk about that at great length later as the show goes on.
Absolutely, and to echo, I'm very well. To echo what you said, I think it's going to be nervy tomorrow. First time probably in a while. It's a home game that's been must win. I know last season it was must win for different reasons, but this really feels like we're at desperation point. I'm gonna try, as I say, I'm not as technically gifted as Mickey, so you guys are gonna have to bear with me whilst we rattle through the comments. Big E, Ken, Anthony, Dan, a lot of regulars in the chat, Chris Brown, Peter, Mark, evening all. Joe, before we get going, have you managed to watch Chat with Chaps this week?
I did. I even made a comment on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, and just to say that it just felt like it was very kind of heartfelt, quite raw. It was like, you can see it wasn't scripted. It was literally just like, boom, this is it. All the emotions sort of came out, didn't it? And I think a lot of people that listened to it, I'm sure, felt the same way. And he was spot on with everything he said, really. He kind of covered all areas. He was non-biased as always. And I think he touched on every area that we all kind of identify. Some choose some areas more than others. Some blame one part more than the other. But I think he kind of looked at all areas. It was really good. So I would definitely say, if you haven't seen it yet, guys, definitely look at the That Millwall Podcast YouTube channel, and it'll be on the videos there. So definitely worth a look.
Absolutely. And as I say, as Joe said, if you haven't seen it, I would say, Joe, I think you messaged in our chat the other day. It's probably one of the best episodes of Chat with Chaps that he's put out. Very, very heartfelt. What we're doing tonight, we're going to try and have a little bit of structure and a little bit of order to the proceedings. We know that the topics of conversations are going to be Joe Edwards. They're going to be the players. We're going to, probably delve in a little bit, but we're going to try and we're going to decipher basically what we think the problems are. A little bit of a to and fro between me and Joe. We'll open it up to you guys. Obviously, comments, obviously, always more than welcome. We'll try and rattle through as many of them as possible. Ken, good evening. Joe, I believe he's American, so that would potentially be good morning or good afternoon. Andrew, Rosalind, Lilian, Darren, first one, Mickey getting his hair cut. Hair transplant went wrong. Mickey at the Den to become our new manager. Mickey went to Turkey. The ex-fan on the board having a lie down after taking training at Calmont Road. Chaps nailed it. Mickey's caught a last-minute flight to Turkey where he'd been offered a 25% discount for transplant surgery. Said he couldn't turn down the offer. Had a dodgy curry last night. And Mickey, his eyes are always watching. He's on the pod account, commenting away. He's going to make a list of all the names, and you've had it now.
Oh, he will be. I guarantee you. Wherever he's at the moment, he'll have his phone there looking and spying on us, won't he? I guarantee that.
Mickey tracking down Aldo. Right, guys, before we continue, Joey's on the beers. I like that. Excellent.
It's been a tough week, so I've been waiting for this moment. My first beer for the weekends.
Whilst Joe starts his, that looks like a Corona. It's a good choice of a beverage. I wanted to start the show with a clip of Joe Edwards. It's only a short clip. It's the first part of the interview after the fixture against Ipswich. We will delve a little bit into it. we will delve a little bit into it after. But I just wanted to play this clip first for those of you who haven't seen it.
Made such a good start to that in the opening 15, 20 minutes or so. Did confidence really go with that first goal?
Yeah, exactly that. It's been happening too often to us as well. I mean, starting games well at home isn't anything to be screaming and shouting about or expecting to get too much from. You have to play well for the full game against teams like this. But we did. We had a clear plan. We knew what their threats are, and for 25 minutes it was a game. But as is with us at the moment, we make an error that is followed shortly by another error. Which firstly are not good enough. You know, we're better than that. They're poor mistakes, but the reality is at the moment most errors we make we're getting punished.
So that was Joe Edwards talking about the Ipswich game, the start of the interview, and the reason why I played that particular clip, and Joe and I are going to try our best to go through this. He mentions there about the individual errors that are costing us week after week. You've done a little bit of research of your own to suggest that 11 goals, or 12 goals, I think it is now.
It's now up to 13. If you want to include Muzz's penalty gave away, but yeah, let's call it 12 out of 13 goals.
For the benefit of the doubt, we'll go with 12. I think the penalty was a bit harsh, but that's it's 3-0 and that time. Individual mistakes are costing us every single week, Joe, and I would like to ask you and the listeners first, where do you stand? Is it a case of that the players are just not good enough and are making too many individual errors, or are they being asked to do a job that they're not quite good enough to do and they don't have the ability to do, and that's leading them to make mistakes? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, no one's perfect. I mean, I'm sure every team, if you looked at every match that's played in the Championship, you're going to get, probably every game you're going to get a mistake. It's going to cost you. It's not uncommon to make mistakes and concede goals. But the point I'm making is it seems to happen too often, and too often, basically too often with us. Because every goal, look back on our last 13 goals conceded since the Bristol City game. Every goal we've conceded, you could identify a mistake, whether it's giving the ball away, whether it's not marking a player, whether it's scoring an own goal or a goalkeeping error. It's happening too often. The reasons why it's happening, I mean, the obvious thing to say is probably confidence and maybe ability. Now, on the ability side of things, that's probably a little bit unfair because some players like Wes Harding have been quite consistent in the earlier games have played for us. That people have been talking about how well he's been playing and things like that. But I think that probably goes towards what Joe Edwards is trying to get him to do. He asked him to play with the ball, play a bit further up the pitch. I'll give you an example of this. So if you remember the game against Ipswich, I think it was the first game. They had a player called Hutchinson, number 20, who was sort of playing that number 10 role. He was kind of playing alongside their striker at times. And he plays that role where it's very, very hard to pick him up. Now, and I hate using Gary Rowett's name here, but under someone like Gary Rowett, for example, he would have someone like a Saville or a Mitchell to drop deep to pick up their number 10 player. But what Joe Edwards is trying to do is trying to play us further up the park. So what he's asked our centre-backs to do is to go with the striker. So if they come deep to get the ball, you come straight out with them. Now, we've seen them do this quite often this season, and it's been to good effect. Like, it's paid off sometimes. But what you do is you leave a gaping hole behind them. Now, the trouble is, when you've got Cooper, who's 7'5", going after Hutchinson, this young, small kid who's fucking rapid and quick, and he's gone right out in no man's land with him. He gets the ball, he turns Cooper, he goes down the right wing. I think, you might have seen it a couple of times, and he just left him for dust. There was also the instant where he's trying to shield the ball out. I don't know what Cooper's trying to do. And again, Hutchinson just took the ball off him and went through. I think Muzza then went out for a corner, and then from the corner they then scored. So what I'm saying is your defenders are asking to do a lot more now than they've ever done before under the Gareth Rowett era. I mean, I can bore you a bit more with regards to what I'm trying to say here, but under the Gareth Rowett era, your defenders were asked to defend very, very low with a low midfield block, and all they're asked to do is just defend, get the ball and go long. Whereas now we're asked to play hard at the pitch, get on the ball and start stringing passes. And going back to what Chaps did on his interview, Stephen, I don't think our players, our defenders certainly, are not good enough to fulfil and implement what Joe Edwards has asked him to do. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. And guys, I'm rattling through the comments. There's so many coming through. Really, really appreciate it. There's quite a few of you listening as well at the moment. I'm going to do what Mickey always does. Please like and subscribe. We are very close to 2,200 subscribers at the moment as well. So if you can get us over that little hurdle, that would be very much appreciated. I will get us all the comments up on the screen. I have saved a few that I will come back to, and we'll try and delve in and answer a little bit deeper. Joe, in response to what you're saying there, the goals, I think the Cooper incident for me was that I thought that was shocking. Someone commented, Peter, that I was very vocal before half time. He obviously heard me give a goal on a massive rant about Jake Cooper on Wednesday evening. Individual mistakes for goals, I think, it's so common. It's so common. You yourself have been very vocal about it. Other fans have started to really, it's starting to really become draining to watch the same kind of things happening week after week. News at Den, I don't know if you went to see the article, did a piece where they looked at the tactical side of things and where we're perhaps falling a little bit short. And to echo what you said, the first goal, if Cooper deals with it, they don't get the corner and they don't score. Or Murray, Wallace and Sarkic, one of them call, but they both leave it and again they score. And we're also, I believe, left 2-on-1 from that corner because it actually goes short.
Sorry to break your flow there. Just want to add that bit. I heard, and I don't know if it's true, apparently Sarkic claimed that ball or wanted that ball, but Murray didn't hear him or whatever, and then obviously hit out for a corner. So again, it's a bit of confusion, misunderstanding between defender and goalkeeper. Sorry, Steve, carry on.
No, absolutely. And so that's goal one. And so you get caught from the short corner. That's goal one. The second goal, Pete, I don't blame Wes Harding for trying to block the cross sliding in. That's not where the problem is. The problem lies that the bloke that puts the ball across actually runs through the middle of the pitch, goes through probably 3 or 4 of our players, just unmarked, ghosted past all of them, and they're all standing there waiting for the offside flag. Look, I think, the offside trap, teams try and play it up and down the country at every level of football, but you still play to the whistle. They just let the guy run through the middle of the team. And again, ball comes across. Harding, perhaps he should get a shout. It doesn't necessarily have to slide, but as a defender, you're going to try and stop that ball coming across. So again, the third goal, I mean, to be honest with you, at this point, I was in utter despair in my seat. But the third goal, it just looks like a calamity. A ball comes across. Kiefer Moore, who everybody knows their entire game plan was putting the ball out wide, crossing it into the box and trying to get him on the end of it. Unmarked, free header, bounces into the ground. Harding, I don't know what happens there. It skims over him. But tactically, Joe Edwards is sending the players out to play a certain way. Now, I tweeted in the week that I have sympathy with Joe Edwards, but I also am starting to get frustrated with the fact that that clearly the players aren't capable to play the way he's asking them to. We've both said our pieces there and both basically have said that there's bigger problems with individuals, essentially. So, $1 million question. Why is he still persisting with the 3 at the back and perhaps trying to play the football that our defenders aren't capable? What do you think it is?
Again, could this stem from his inexperience? I mean, what surprises me is that he's got people there like Adam Barrett, who you think is, quite an experienced coach in a sense that, he's been working with Rowett for many, many years. He's quite a defensive-minded coach himself. What's his purpose? If we're not defending, if we're not carrying out, good sort of defensive performances, then I don't see what's the point of him being there at the moment, because it just seems like it's all kind of Joe's way. It's all about playing on the front foot, attacking football. Now, when you look at when Rowett was in charge, and again, sorry guys, I keep mentioning his name, but I don't know what else we can call him for now other than his name. But the point I'm trying to make is under Rowett, a game like that on Sunday against Ipswich, we were probably not winning that 1-0. Or 2-1. How often do we play against good teams at home and put good performances, either nick the result or get a draw out of them against like Burnley and Sheffield United last season, for example? The difference is when we played against shit teams at home, Rowett struggled. We could never break down the other team. We were too defensive minded. There was no creativity. The point I'm trying to make here, so I'm going around the houses a little bit, is that Joe Edwards has kind of got one style of playing. Now, I think he's tweaked it a little bit after the kind of the Coventry losses in, was it November? I think it might be early December, when we lost a couple of big losses after Sheffield Wednesday. He tweaked it a little bit, but the point I'm making is he hasn't got that kind of all defensive way of playing. And I guess against Ipswich, no matter how bad their form has been of late, they're a good side. Dare I say it, you need to kind of go all Rowett against Ipswich, play with a low defensive line, a low block midfield. Yes, it might stink the place out. Yes, it could be a bit boring. But what you're doing is you're limiting opportunities. You're limiting space behind your defenders. Let's be honest, our defenders don't want to give away space because they've got no pace to get back anyway. But you're playing a low block. Your attackers are playing behind the ball. And you're nicking, a chance or a score, or a goal or a set piece on the other way. When you play against Sheffield Wednesday at home tomorrow, that's when you can then go the Joe Edwards way. And I'm really hoping that tomorrow we can play to his strengths, if you like, play a little bit more on the front foot, and then maybe we can do well. But certainly against the tougher teams, you've got to be very, very cautious in how you're playing. I just don't think he kind of works out the two different styles. Mentally, it's kind of like, we're going to play this way, and that's why we're going to play. We're not going to change our style too much. And you can see, conceding 13 goals in 6 games, it's costing us,
Absolutely. There's a couple of comments here. Brian gets a ban for elbow. Does Ipswich player elbows fluing? Will he get the same punishment? I wasn't really going to cover this, but Joe Bryan has been suspended. Obviously, 2 games left. Retrospectively, it's not gone down well. His message from on his Instagram, is it? It's not really the Millwall way. It's not what we're used to, and I think it just goes to show maybe perhaps some of the characters that we've got in the team are not quite Millwall type players. I agree, Ken.
Way, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mentioned Ashley Barnes from Norwich. What happened to him? But nothing there.
Nothing.
Defence are used to conceding, no confidence, communication, total confusion. Agree. I say a lot of these comments, guys, I will try and keep up with them as much as I can. As I say, I do have found respect for Mickey that he does do a good job with these. Edwards needs to change his style of play until the end of the season and play system players' strength at its disposal to get us out of this mess. I agree with that comment, and as you said, Joe, I've been sort of banging the drum a little bit that under Rowett we had a plan A. We didn't have a plan B. Plan A got us relative success, should we say? But when it didn't work, it wasn't the same. And I feel Joe Edwards is kind of in the same bracket. It's just a different way. He's got his style of football, what he wants to do and what he wants the players to implement. But when push goes to shove and we need to make changes, the changes we made on Wednesday, it's just the same. It's just different players playing in the same positions. They don't do anything different, really. Maybe Adam Mayer, probably harsh on him. He's not had much game time, especially at this level. But it's just changing players for the sake of making substitutions. And I think, whilst that comment there from Ugar there, he does need to find a slightly different way, or at least a plan B, something a little bit different.
Going back to Ugar's point there, I know we kind of had to go for it a little bit in the second half and go 4 at the back. But is it me, or do you feel we played better? Or was it because Ipswich were 3-0 up at that point? If we know we're going to sit back and just going to cruise at the second half. I just feel that extra player makes a difference for us in the middle of the park. When we rely on our wing backs, unless we've got really good wing backs playing, we can't really affect that formation as well as we should. Because when you play the wing backs, your wing backs have to be top draw, aren't they? And if they're just average, we're not going to implement, are we?
I'll be honest with you. I went to the Ipswich away game and we were 3-0 down inside 25 minutes or whatever it was there. And it was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. And to the point where just after half time, the Ipswich manager changed all 4 of his attacking players because he knew that we had nothing whatsoever and could give his players a rest. And on Wednesday, he bloody well could have done the same thing. He could have taken off all of them front four and played anybody he wanted to in them positions. It made no difference. I agree. Maybe we had a little bit more of the ball, but let's be honest. They were in second gear. They passed the ball. They moved it around the back. The goalkeeper held onto it for as long as he wanted. I see the point, perhaps, of the change of system may have helped us gain the ball, but when the opposition don't need to do anything, it was just quite embarrassing. I left the ground feeling quite embarrassed at the level of the performance, and I know the penalty, kind of capped it off. It wasn't a penalty, but it's very, very disappointing. The next point I wanted to come to, again, sort of taking it a little bit from Chaps, is the mentality of this team and the players. You
got some Wi-Fi issues there, Stephen. It's cutting in and out a little bit.
Is that
just your we almost lost you completely. You went off the screen a little bit.
I think it flashed on mine. I'm having a few Wi-Fi issues, so bear with me with it. The mentality of this group. Chaps produced a stat that we haven't come from behind in a game to win for over 16 months. Out of 10, what level is the players' confidence at right now, would you say?
It's very hard to sort of say, because if you listen to what Joe Edwards says about the players, about their attitude in training, and you hear bits and bobs for people that are quite close to the players or players' family, there seems like there's a real togetherness there. I'm not hearing anything at all that's negative. I'm not hearing that, they're really, really low on confidence, but I guess confidence is definitely not on an up at the moment. From what I'm feeling at the moment is that there's definitely this positive attitude, I think, in regards to tomorrow. I think the players are up for it. I think they know what they've got to do. They know what the job is in hand and what they need to execute tomorrow. And I just hope that luck's with them a little bit, because I guarantee you there's going to be 100% effort from the players. They're all going to want to win this game. They see this as a very, very winnable game. But it's football. All it takes is a bad tackle or a mistimed pass or anything like that. It's going to result in them getting a chance and scoring passes. Then again, back to Chaps's point, we go a goal down. Are the head's going to drop? Is the confidence going to lower again? We need to make sure that we're switched on and we're focused. Eliminate any of these mistakes and errors that can happen, and don't give them a chance. What I'm saying is, don't give them a chance. Play your game, be on the front foot, yes, but don't make it easy for them. Don't give them a chance. Don't let anything slip, basically.
Absolutely. And I think Mickey and I had a very good debate on this a couple of weeks ago about the mentality and the confidence of the players. And unfortunately, I just feel like this group they just don't seem to have the fight in them to want to, okay, maybe not want, but the fight and the ability to be able to drag themselves out of a hole. I mean, you look at the end of the game, George Saville slumped to the floor. Someone who I actually think, again, obviously I know I'm a fan of his. I didn't think he had a particularly good game on Wednesday. Not many of them did, but you can see how much it means to some of these players. Others that might not get it as much, but there's just no fight. There's no leaders. There's no that determination from players. And I hope that when Sean Hutchinson is available to play, that he plays, because he if he can't do it as club captain, then we really are in trouble. But I just feel we're missing someone that really understands it. And I don't want to turn this into a bashing on individual players, but Jake Cooper is not captain material.
As the sounds, when you look at, and again, it's horrible of us to kind of pick players out here, but if you look at Jake Cooper, you look at Wes Harding, we're asking them to be ball-playing defenders. And with the greatest respect, they are probably the least technically gifted ball-playing players we've got in our squad. Mm-hmm. And they're probably going to have the ball more often than any other player in the team, because as you see it, quite often the ball's been played across the back three, and they're trying to pick passes. They're getting a lot of the ball, getting a lot of the possession. And when you're not that comfortable on the ball, and when you're not that kind of confident in what you're doing with it, you're asking players to do something that's out of their comfort zone. I would much rather see. I'd rather sacrifice the height of Jake Cooper. Let's be honest, that's why he's there for, because of his aerial ability, whether it be defending or attacking. I'd rather sacrifice Jake Cooper tomorrow and play with 2 ball-playing centre halves. Someone like Ryan Leonard and maybe Tanganga, if he's available, with Danny McNamara right back and Murray Wallace left back. Because if they were having, if Leonard and Tanganga had to pass the ball around a little bit, I think they're going to feel fairly comfortable on the ball. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, they're not the sort of players that are going to be shy. I mean, you've seen the difference when Leonard come on when he plays. Like, he just looks much more comfortable on the ball. I felt sorry for Tanganga in the previous games because when he's playing in the back three with Wes and Cooper, if you're him and you're fairly comfortable on the ball, you're technically not a bad player. When you're looking to your left and you're looking to play a pass to somebody, do you really want to be passing that ball to Wes Harding or Jake Cooper if they're under pressure? It must be very difficult for him. You can't fill him with confidence when he's trying to play that ball across the back three and you've got Jake Cooper to the left and Wes Harding,
Absolutely. For the benefit of those that are listening to this back on a podcast, we have been joined by a third member of that Millwall podcast panel. It's not Mickey.
We just seen your praises earlier. Funny enough.
We're joined by the man himself from the episode of Chat with Chaps, which has gone down absolutely superbly. Chris, how are you this evening, my friend?
Good evening, gents. Yeah, really good, thank you. I thought I'd surprise you and come on and say hello.
He told us he weren't going to come on. He said, "Stop that. I've got to go to bed at 9 o'clock," and
Well, yeah, usually I'm in bed with my hot water bottle at 9, but I thought I'd come
you've got cocoa.
I'll come on and say hello. And do you know what? Like, I don't have the words excited, but I'm really looking forward to tomorrow because I think that it's going to give us a lot of answers, regardless, one way or another. I think we're going to find out a lot about this group and a lot about where we're going to be heading in weeks to come. So really looking forward to it. And hope you're both all right, gents. What was you just discussing? You were talking about Harding. Sorry, I've literally come in blind, so apologies.
To be honest with you, we could go off on a tangent, don't we, Stephen, a little bit at the moment. We're trying to keep a little bit structure to the show. But I think he was mentioning about the confidence of the players. Is the confidence low? What's causing the confidence to be low? And I guess what's causing these errors. Before we continue, we have got a Millwall fan over in Belgium at the moment, Peter, aka Bob Peters, who's tuned in and listened to the show. So, Peter, hope you're well. Hope family's all good, and we'll see you next time you're back over in London.
Well done, Joe. Chris, we're going through a couple of the comments. I said we didn't want to kind of take away from your video for those who haven't seen it, but we were kind of taking little bits out to try and go into a little bit more detail. Where do you stand on the debate between, are the players just not very good, or are they being asked to implement a style of football that they cannot play, and that is in itself impacting their ability in game?
I think I'm going to sit on the fence and I say it's a bit of both, which is what I said in my sort of, I called it, it's not really a post-match, it was just a summarization of where we find ourselves. I think that the players are clearly better than they are showing now, because we've not finished 4 times in the top half of the table and flirted with the playoffs twice, 2 seasons running if they weren't. And I think that's an obvious statement to make. But what is also very, very clear is they are making an abundance of mistakes, right? That is absolutely clear. I mean, Joe, you've kind of created a little spreadsheet of said mistakes, and I'm sure we'll
mention that earlier. And obviously, when you it's a bit like you, when you look back at things and you analyze things, although you kind of got an idea of what has happened, when you actually put pen to paper and you do your research and you look at it, it does really shock you, doesn't it? And we said earlier, chats, before you joined us, in the last 6 games we conceded 13 goals. If you want to include Murray Wallace in that penalty giveaway, that's 13 mistakes in our last 13 goals. We're going to be kind to him and say, look, that's 12. We call it 12 out of 13. but that's still a lot of mistakes. And the point I was making to Stephen earlier is that a lot of teams in the Championship make mistakes. You watch every game in the Championship, I guarantee there's one mistake at least that costs a team that results in a goal. But But I don't feel it happens that often. You know, you watch other Championship games. Normally, there's some good goals, whether it's some good crosses or good pass and moves or long shots, whatever. But I just feel with us, every goal we concede is a gift. They don't have to work hard for it, do they?
No, I mean, I'll be honest, mate. It's difficult because we don't score many goals. So to analyse the mistakes the opposition make, I'm just going to pick up one where I'm sure if I was a Preston fan, for example, I would be questioning why. Hello, Bobby. I'll be questioning why Zian Fleming was allowed a free header in the box, for example, right? So, like, there's dependent. I think, of course, we analyse our own situation a lot more, but in the same breath, I do think we make more mistakes than others. And if you don't mind, I'll just sort of share a little bit about what I said in my video around some kind of, observations on Jake Cooper. Jake Cooper has been, let's be honest, great for us now for a long, long time, right? There was talk, and we were worried that we were going to lose him to Rangers for 5 to 8 million not so long ago. We've said for a long time that possibly him and Hutch were two of the best, if not the best defensive pairing in the league. So that's kind of where they were held in regard. But since Joe Edwards has come in, Jake Cooper has been made to look, let's be honest, piss poor. He has. He's made a lot of mistakes. And then you ask yourself the question, why? Well, from everything I know of Jake Cooper, he is a model professional. You can tell that by the way he applies himself in terms of he's always available, right? He's never injured. He is a role model in that regard. So I don't believe for 1 second that he's not playing for Joe or for the club or for the shirt or for the rest of the players. But he keeps making mistakes. So why is that? And I think ultimately that is because he's been asked to do things that he just can't do. And you can't, something has to change, right? And you can't, unfortunately, you can't go out and change your whole 11. So either the style of football that we are playing changes or the manager changes. And I think that's where we're coming to. And that may not go down very well. And I believe you me, I want Joe Edwards to succeed here because I genuinely think he can take us to that next level, but we've got to get through this season.
Chaps, can I just, to your point you're making just there, I've heard, again, every fan's got different opinions and different thoughts and reasons why and what we should do and stuff like that. You hear a lot of fans saying, listen, let's just play the boring Rowett way at the moment. Let's just see the season out. Let's get some points, let's get some consistency. And then we'll build in the summer for next season to play the Joe Edwards way. Do you agree or disagree with that? Because I don't know about you, there are some games, and I think towards the end of the season, we'll get some easier games against weaker opposition at home where we can play the Joe Edwards way and play on the front foot. Because my concern is we go too defensively, especially against teams that we should be beating at home. I don't want us missing out on opportunities and drawing games 0-0 where we should be taking it to them from the first minute and try and win these games. So do we just adapt to the team we're playing against? I mean, how do you see it?
I mean, if there's ever an opportunity to play the Joe Edwards way, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Let's be honest. It really is. And I think what we are finding is football has evolved so much, I think, over the last 5 years. And you've got players that 5 years ago, like I'm just gonna say how it is, like Danny Mack, Hutch, Jake Cooper, Murray Wallace, in an old school 4-4-2 way of playing football, were all very, very good top end championship players. But football's evolved, and it's now more about athleticism than anything else. That's just how it is. And that is because the Premier League, with the money that's come into the Championship, you've kind of got this evolution into the Championship.
And players coming down. There's players. How many English players used to play in the Premier League that can't get in the Premier League anymore because of the influx of foreign players, good foreign players, let's be honest, coming from abroad, playing in the Premier League, was pushing out all these academy players, all these young English players, and having to join Championship clubs. So you're absolutely right there, chaps, that the standard of the Championship is so high. It's probably where the Premier League was maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
It is. Go on, Stephen.
I was just going to say that I've started for the guys. There's a couple of comments that are on this subject that I will come back to. I'm not leaving everybody out. Just a couple that I am going to put up just to break the ice just a little bit. This one absolutely is fantastic. Not very diverse on here. Far too much hair about. Millwall Holdings. I do apologise. Mickey will be back next week to sort that out. But bringing it back to the topic at hand, interestingly, this is Rosalind, a comment that I wanted to touch on with you guys. The lack of fight is contagious. Half of these players weren't here for the Blackburn game last season, so they shouldn't have this defeatist mentality. Now, I just was listening to what you guys were saying, and I do, much like what you said earlier, Chris, sitting on the fence type of thing. I think there's a number of factors that are going into the issues at the moment. However, as a football club, the events of the last, 8 months, 9 months have damaged us incredibly behind the scenes. I think not making the playoffs was obviously a huge blow to everybody. For me, I think a lot of our players may have thought that was their real opportunity to make the Premier League, and they blew it. And you don't know how that psychologically will impact. Maybe not the likes of Zian Fleming or Romain Esse coming through, who have longer in the game, but your Jake Coopers, your Murray Wallace, your Sean Hutchinson, probably players like that probably felt that was a golden opportunity missed. Sad passing of John Berylson, which rocked the club to its core. The man was a legend, and that it clearly impacted us. Gary Rowett even said on his podcast that the club didn't feel the same without him. But I have to agree with the comment from Rosalind that a lot of the players that are in the club at the moment weren't there for those. They didn't know John particularly well. They didn't have the scarring of the Blackburn fixture. Yes, there's players there. We know that we've still got a lot of the Rowett squad. But when you've got the likes of, Obafemi, Tanganga, Casper Denor, who may or may not have joined. I think he might join after the I
think it was John joined in the summer, didn't he? I think. Yeah,
but he joined after John passed away. I don't think he would have had the baggage of him and players like that.
You would have got to know him, probably. No.
Have they entered an environment that was just so defeatist and so negative that as soon as the chips are down, look where we are.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. We talk a lot about leaders and people stepping up and players stepping up. And there's not many of them, to be honest with you. I think our best performance, or two best performances, if you like, were the Norwich and QPR games over the Christmas period. And in those two games, I believe you had Hutchinson playing at the back. And I think Hutchinson probably had his best game. Was it away to Bristol City when he scored the winner right at the very end?
We were excellent away at Bristol City. We really was.
And also, sorry to interrupt you, Chris. Also, didn't we play on the front foot that game as well, from memory? I mean, I'm talking about us going all Rowett and defensively, but we seemed to kind of take it a bit too there. We made it a game and we were on the front foot. And, Hutchinson stepped up and made a difference for us, didn't he?
He did. And the Hutch is not a typical leader in the sense you don't see him rollicking players, you don't see him rollicking the ref, but quite clearly he is our leader because, Cooper is half the player when he's not there. That's just a fact, right?
Yeah.
Cooper is... he's going for a bad spell, but I really like Jake Cooper and I think he'll leave a legacy at Millwall whenever he leaves us. But he's half the player when Hutch isn't there. And we have, sorry to sort of digress a little bit, but in the summer, God, we've got a big job to do, regardless of what league we're in, because not only are we going to have possibly up to 10 players that we need to recruit from the 5 that are out of contract and the 5 that are on loan. But we've got to recruit leadership as well in
the
that,
right kind of players,
which is not easy to do. You know, we were linked with Lewis Travers in the summer from Blackburn, Blackburn's captain. He's gone to Ipswich and he can't even get a look in. That's how good they're performing. He came on as
at the time, not many of our fans fancied it because we thought we had too many midfielders.
Well,
but it's not about having the quantity, it's the quantity, and it's more about the personality, isn't it? Because he is, like you say, he's a leader. He was their captain. I mean, what a signing he would have been. I think he would have made a good contribution in our midfield with the likes of Casper, Denor, and Saville and Honeyman, perhaps, and rotating those players. I can't hear you.
Stephen, you're on mute, mate.
I don't know if it's his Wi-Fi, maybe. Can we hear you? Or you can't hear? It could be his microphone. But I mean, also a point to yourself, Chris. The last game, I know we were resting players. We rested Tanganga. We rested Casper, I believe, because they're saying we're playing 3 games in quick succession.
Yeah.
Obafemi was ill, we believed, so that's why he didn't start and couldn't play. But I had a quick look at that list, and we've got 8 players that were unavailable. And these 8 players, I think if they're fit, they start, end of. So you've got Kevin Nisbet, you've got Hutchinson. I would even put Longman in there potentially, Imaku, I think he's worthy of a start if he's fit. If he's fit, he starts. Brooke Norton-Cuffy, Joe Bryan, Obafemi, Tanganga. Yeah, there's 8 players there that if you had them at your disposal to start, what a difference it would have made to us having those players.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Chris. Go on.
No, I was going to say, I think, well, a couple of things. I think there was some rumours floating around that, was it Tanganga, Denor, and one other were ill in the week. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But honestly, this is what I said when I first come on about tomorrow. Like, I'm genuinely, I don't know what the word is, excited or not, I don't know. But
I'm mixed. I'm excited, but very, very nervous, I must admit.
Yeah, but I think we will find out tomorrow whether the players are playing for Edwards or not. I really think so. Like to Gerard's point there, I honestly think we'll find out a lot, because to me, tomorrow is shit or bust time. Let's be honest. Like if Sheffield Wednesday beat us, all of a sudden they will have a lot of wind in their sails, and it will. I don't know if we come back from that. I really don't.
I mean, it is a must win game. I mean, we mentioned it a few times. Oh, we must win this game. Huddersfield, I think, at home was a must win game, wasn't it? How
many times do we say it and then we never do?
Let me say it. But I can't. I know, but go on. Sorry.
Let me ask you both a question. Tomorrow we lose. Okay. Do you sack Edwards?
I won't personally. I wouldn't.
Oh, that's
I still feel
it's a hard question, but that's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, if Sheffield Wednesday win, they get 29 points. They'll be 4 points behind us. We then got to play Southampton away. We then got to play Watford at home, which is not going to be easy games. I think we can beat Watford at home, but I think there'd be teams with lower budgets, smaller squads, a bit like Plymouth, for example, who will towards the end of the season drop down the league. There'll be a few of those teams there. And I think you're going to have QPR there or thereabouts. Rotherham are down there. Sheffield Wednesday, I think, will still go down. So there's going to be 3 or 4 teams I think will really, really struggle. And I just don't see us being in that batch. I think we're better than them. We just need that bit of luck at the moment.
I'll be honest with you, Joe. I really struggle to say that we're better than those teams at the moment, because the standard of our play is, and the level of performance, as I said earlier, I was embarrassed leaving the ground on Wednesday night. It was no fight, no passion, no heart, nothing. Yeah. And I just, maybe we have been a bit unlucky with injuries and illness and suspensions, but as a Millwall fan, and all of us have different opinions, but I'm sure we can all agree on the fact that the least you expect is a team that will fight and try and hassle and hurry and at least show that they care. Romain Esse, an 18-year-old kid, I thought tried to put himself about a bit. Might not have been the best player on the pitch, but he tried to put himself about a bit and make some tackles. Okay, it wasn't as successful, but he tried. Zian Fleming, someone who only joined the club last year, who has received pelters from me, especially on this show, criticising how well he has been playing. In the last couple of games, Fleming has been one of our best players, and he's been one of our best players because he's actually showing that he cares and he's fighting and he's putting himself about a bit. So, but
I had Honeyman to that as well.
Yeah, Honeyman again putting himself about, trying. Look, they're not playing well as in their actual ability, and they're not putting in 10 out of 10 performances. But why are three players that have joined the club? George Honeyman's from the north, Stephen Fleming's from Holland, and Romain Esse is a kid coming through the academy. Where is this from the rest of the other players? Where's that fight? The point that you made, Chris, tomorrow is huge. I'm looking forward to the game because I fully expect our players to come out and show that they are playing for the club, they're playing for their manager, and they're playing for their support. And as you said, we're going to get more answers tomorrow, because if we don't get a result, that tells me all you need to know about this group of players.
Absolutely. We need to see it all. We need to see aggression. And obviously, we need to play some good football. I think they can play good football against Sheffield Wednesday because they'll give us chances, and they'll probably let us have the ball a little bit, But yeah, I think it's the fundamentals, and you hear Joe Edwards talk about it quite often, especially in the first few games of him being in charge. It's basic football, isn't it? It's the fundamentals that you're looking for, and that is hard work. That is aggression. That's doing all the basics right, and then a bit of sprinkle of skill, whatever you want to call it, that wins you the games. But ultimately, you can't not do that, which is what really frustrates me when you look at. Again, going back to my stats on the mistakes we made, Joe Bryan cost us, 3 or 4 goals in the last sort of 6 games. And it's that kind of attitude. It's almost like, he's a bit luxurious sort of getting back. He's not really sort of like determined enough. Even when he concedes a goal, okay, we're not asking him to get on his knees and beg for forgiveness, but at least show some kind of remorse. I remember going to Coventry away the other day, and I thought Wes Harding had a reasonably good game. He came over towards one of the last players to clap us, and all he kept doing was tapping his chest and apologising, saying sorry and clapping, and walked off. He was the last person. You'll never see Joe Edwards hold his hand up for the mistakes he's made. And what is that? Is that just he doesn't care? Is it just? It's just I don't know. We just sees it's just football. I don't really care. And if you've got that kind of attitude, it's the wrong attitude to have. You want players. As limited as Wes Harding is technically, at least he's got that fight. At least you can see he cares. He wants it. And I'll probably add Cooper to that, Chris, as well. Going back to your point earlier.
Yeah. One interesting observation my old man said, I didn't even clock it at the time, but all right, look, the whole performance was a shambles. Wes Harding didn't play well, but his own goal was unfortunate.
He was unfortunate, yeah.
It was unfortunate. Not a single player went up to him. No one.
That's true. Yeah.
They just left him, and that's just there seems to be. Everyone talks about how, and everyone you speak to connected with the club says there's a really good atmosphere in the dressing room, and I'm sick and tired of hearing of it. I don't give a shite if there's a good dressing room atmosphere. Go out there and show us how good your atmosphere is, because you go and perform on the pitch. I'm sick and tired of hearing all this. I really am. We've got to go and win a game of football. I don't care if we win 1-0 tomorrow with an own goal. We have to win. We have to show fight. We have to show. I don't even care if we show ability. I'm past caring of playing nice football. We have to win, and we need to get 3 points on the table to give us breathing space tomorrow. Because if we don't, we're in big trouble. Because Sheffield Wednesday, if they beat us, we're not only looking at, then there's 2 places up for grabs in the relegation zone as opposed to 1.
Absolutely, and I also think on that comment there from Bobby, the atmosphere of the supporters, it is not going to be a nice environment if we go 1-0 down or 2-0 or whatever. If we go behind in the game, it's going to be very, very difficult for Joe Edwards. I actually thought you talk about body language and things like that. I actually thought, from what I saw on pictures and looking back on social media, Edwards looked broken on Wednesday. He looked like a man who just wanted the world to swallow him up and just be done with it. And
do you blame him though? Do you blame him? I mean,
no, I don't. But look, someone said the other day, and I can't remember what it was in relation to, but if you get a job, it doesn't matter what you do as a profession. I'm sure if you asked all the guys in the comments what they do, that everyone works across a variety of different things. You get a new job, and you've always got that new job feeling. You look forward to it. You think, right, I'm gonna come in. This is my opportunity, especially if it's a big opportunity something that you've desperately wanted for your entire life. He got the best start possible ever. 4-0 away victory in your first game. Played really good football. Okay, admittedly Sheffield Wednesday were a poor side, but you couldn't ask for much more.
No.
And I imagine, and he's very close with his family. I know you guys are too. I'm very, very close to my dad. And the first thing I would have been doing if I was Joe Edwards, I'd have been on the phone to my dad going, Dad, I'd have been absolutely buzzing with it. Can you imagine what it's like for Joe Edwards to be on the phone to his parents, to his friends, to his family, even facing the players? He's just a broken man. He's just a broken man, and he needs something. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if he's going to be here for much longer if results don't turn. I do feel sorry for him, but at the same time, it is his job. It is his job to turn this around and get these players playing. And unfortunately, tomorrow is for me is do or die.
What if we have the performance of the year tomorrow? We absolutely take it to them. We end up winning 3-0 or 4-0, and everyone's singing Joe Edwards' name and everything else. That pulls us slightly in a better position, depending on what other results going our way. But where do we go from there? Is that it? Are we kind of almost safe psychologically, or do you still envisage there being a problem going forward? Because one game is not going to change it, is it? I would have thought.
No, I mean, I'm hoping one of the problems we've got at the minute is confidence. And I think getting 3 points on the board with a good performance will instill confidence. I also think that point you alluded to earlier, Joe, that we've got players that are either injured or coming back to fitness. We need to get our best players on the pitch and play them regularly. Every single game there's 4 changes. Yeah. And we can't have that. We need, let's go through it. Our best players technically, whether they're fit or not, are probably Zian Fleming, Casper Denor, Michael Obafemi. I know he's been here 2 minutes, but I've followed his career. I know how good he can be. Tanganga. And I'd probably put Ryan Leonard up there, to be honest. I think he's been phenomenal. Like those players, we need to get on the pitch as much as possible because they're going to be the difference makers. And maybe I've always said you make your own luck in football, but maybe we have had a bit of bad luck with the injuries. Look at the bench, by the way, on Wednesday night. Look at the players that Ipswich brought onto the field and look at the bench that we had available.
They brought on probably arguably their best player, didn't they? Second half.
Yeah, they did. Chaplin. It was Chaplin, wasn't it?
Chaplin, yeah. Connor Chaplin.
I mean, he's sitting on the bench. They make a last-minute substitution of Caden Jackson that would probably walk into our team in a minute. Like it's crazy, and this is Ipswich, a team that come up from League One last season. Yeah, it just shows you how far other teams have managed to develop. And I don't want to necessarily. Well, we can get into what we want, but it goes back to recruitment. It really does.
What's your thoughts on? I know we ain't got much choice, man, but what's your thoughts on Bradshaw at the moment? I mean, I can't remember the last time he scored for us, and it just seems like for all his running around and pressing and everything else, I just feel we haven't got no presence up front at all. It was quite interesting because when he made a few substitutions, and I think he then moved Fleming up front for the last 10 minutes, the last game, although he didn't get a lot of the ball, I just suddenly felt a presence. I felt there was somebody up front who can hold the ball, and drop it or whatever. And, I just don't quite understand that, I mean...
As Peter, who's listening, will allude to, I've been screaming for Fleming to be moved central. Shoving him out wide doesn't work.
Me too.
Let's be honest, it don't. He's not a winger. He's not blessed with pace.
it's just not. It's almost as if I'm not comparing the two players. I'm really not. But when Neil Harris used to use Aidan O'Brien, it was a case of, oh well, we need to put someone on the left, so we'll just that'll do type thing.
Yeah,
Fleming. He wants Fleming to play, but he doesn't. He wants to play the system, so that's where he gets shoved.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, dependent on Obafemi, whatever goes on with him, I don't know if he's going to be back or not. I would be starting with Zian Fleming as a striker tomorrow. 100%. Get him in the middle.
I've always made comparisons between Fleming and Gyökeres last season, as in, they're both kind of built very similar. They've both got, technically, they're quite gifted, on the ball. They've got an eye for goal, clearly. They can score, whether it be headers or shots, whatever. And I've said for a long time, I'd love to see Fleming played further up the pitch. But of course, when you've got someone like Obafemi at disposal, you can't afford to leave him on the bench and not play him. So it's a system change for me. Whether we go with a 4 at the back or even a 5, with a 3 across the midfield, and then maybe play Fleming up front with Obafemi. I mean, I wouldn't be adverse to seeing a 3-5-2 formation with Obafemi and Fleming up front, and a midfield 3 with Honeyman, Saville, and Denora. As a 3, or we can throw Mitchell in there if you prefer,
Gents, you were there the other night. I wasn't, and I watched bits and bobs of the game. I couldn't for work purposes. But whenever I did flick through in the second half, it looked like Denor was playing further forward than normal.
He kept interchanging. I saw that as well. There was one moment when Saville was almost sitting back. Yeah. And you got Honeyman. You had Honeyman and Denor further forward. And then you had Denor step back into the sort of DM position again and left Honeyman up there. Then 1 minute I saw Saville so high up the pitch, he was ahead of Bradshaw and he was pressing the defenders down. It just seemed like they were kind of almost like interchanging a little bit. So whether that's something they've been asked to do or told to do, or whether they've just done it, ad hoc, if you like. I don't quite understand what happened there. But for me, I would much rather see Kasper playing in a number kind of 8 role, like a box to box. He likes being on the ball. He likes carrying the ball. He likes being busy. I don't want to see him.
No one else in our team can find.
Yeah, early in the season, I've seen him unlock. So many defensive with his through balls. It makes a big difference. But I think you do need him further up the pitch. Having him playing so deep, I think you're losing his main attributes.
Joe, another option could be to play. So, do you know what? I'm just going to tell you the team I'd play tomorrow if everyone's available. So let's do it. So I would keep Sarkic in goal. That may or may not be a popular call.
Sorry, Chris, can I just interject there? Once you do your team,
yeah,
I've got a comment regarding Sarkic and we'll do a piece on him. But it's interesting that you would stick with him. But carry on.
Okay, all right. So I'll justify it then. So I'd stick with Sarkic. Does he convince me? No. Does he fill me with confidence? No. Do I panic every time he comes for a cross? Yes. But do I think it's the right time to change the goalkeeper? No, I don't. So I'd stick with Sarkic. My back 3 would be, I'd play Leonard left centre-back because I think he can play there because he's missed the versatility. Assumption is that Hutch is still not fit, and I don't believe he is. So therefore, I would play Cooper in the centre where he's okay. And then I'd play Tangang on the right. Then the wing-backs, you've got to bring Norton Cuffy in. So Norton Cuffy, if he's fit on the right. On the left, I suppose it's by default Murray Wallace, but maybe you give the kid a game and put Mayer in. Don't know. Just an option. My midfield 2 would be Honeyman and Denor. I would then play Esse in the pocket. To me, he's not a wide man. So I put him, put him in the pocket, and then I would play Fleming and Obafemi up top. That would be my thing.
I love that. Yeah. I personally think that's where Esse's best position is, chaps. I prefer him in that number 10, almost freeing him up of defensive responsibilities. Yes, you've got to fill in when you haven't got the ball transition. You then got to step into midfield and and block any lines that you might be left open. But ultimately, you're not having to track back. You're not having to chase a fullback that's making a run forward like he would do if you're playing out wide. And I think he actually plays better on the ball. When he gets that ball and he turns and he's running at players and making things happen, he looks so much more effective there. But the reason why he's not getting an opportunity to play there often is because Zian Fleming's there. But again, like you said, chaps, playing further up the pitch, and I agree with what Stephen's saying, playing him up the pitch with from behind. I think that's a system that will work, you know?
Yeah.
On the subject, Joe will come to our teams in a minute, but I'm gonna talk about Matty. No, it's fine. It's fine. I was gonna do the piece on the Sarkic now, but you led me quite nicely, Chris, because you said that he doesn't fill you with confidence, but you'd still pick him. A comment that come through right at the beginning of the show. The goalkeeper as well, horrendous. Cannot catch and weak wrists. Now, I seem to believe, if I'm correct, chaps, that on your show you made the statement that you didn't think that Sarkic was worth a 1.2 million goalkeeper, and I tend to agree very much with you. Last season, there was a lot of talk that towards the end of the year that, and I don't necessarily buy into this, that had we have changed goalkeepers in the running, that we would have made the playoffs had we have taken George Long out of the team and put Bart Bilkowski back in. Is there an argument, guys, that this year the running is arguably even more important? Do we stick with Sarkic for the running, or do we bring back a goalkeeper that I believe is capable of saving and earning more points than what Matty Sarkic is? What are your thoughts?
Do you want to go first?
You both look there like one of you go first, please.
I mean, I don't mind. I can talk, but
You go on.
So I think, Stephen, I think you make complete valid points, and I think if there was hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I think now we probably would have brought Bart back. The thing is, it is human nature, by the way, to go with what you don't know rather than what you do, right? And Bart has probably been my favourite player at the club. Him and Saville have been my favourite player at the club since they both joined. And Bart actually did a really nice thing for my dad's birthday. He's an absolute top bloke, right? But no one actually knows what he's actually capable of now. No one knows. Like, it's all a summation. We don't know what happens in training. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We can only see what we can see, right? And I personally believe that, first of all, Sarkic is a better goalkeeper than George Long, right? I'm sorry, but we're comparing two different goalkeepers. For me personally, I think Sarkic deserves a little bit more time because he's playing in front of a defence that, is quite honestly, is a shambles. And I think that is a big that's a big thing. Also, another thing I want to call out, against Coventry, if he hadn't conceded that goal that he did against Haji Wright, he actually had a very good game overall. He made a couple of really good saves. In the first half, he tipped one onto the bar from top. He actually made some good saves. And I see all the comments in the chat, and I'm not necessarily saying I disagree. And I love Bart, and we know what a great goalkeeper Bart is. But we don't know what we don't know. And it's always, as I say, it's human psychology to say, oh, yeah, Bart's got to be better than Sarkic. You don't know that. You honestly don't know that. You're thinking of the Bart of old. No one knows what it'd be like putting him into...
And sorry to interrupt, Chris, to your point there, do you remember when Bart was out of action for quite some time, and his first game back was against Reading in the cup game, and he had an absolute howler? And then bear in mind, it took him a good few weeks to kind of lose a bit of weight. Everyone said he looked much fitter, he looked better, he looked quicker, and suddenly he went for a good run of form, didn't he? To bring him back now, you're absolutely right, Chris. I think we don't know what he's going to be like, and my gut feeling is he probably won't be ready. I think psychologically he's probably not ready for it either.
And do you not think that Bart also, he's what, 37, 38? Do you not think he honestly, genuinely believes he is literally just a backup goalkeeper now? Like,
he has to, surely, no?
Of course he does. The geezer's not deluded. So I'm not saying he wouldn't be ready, but the point is I honestly don't know. And the precarious situation we find ourselves in, Bart was one of the best shot stoppers I have ever seen at the Den. And I would probably put him up there with Denzel as my favourite ever goalkeeper. But the fact is, I'd still pick Sarkic. And to me, that says it all.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the game against Coventry, I agree with you. I thought he'd done really, really well. Again, once he made that howler, his confidence went. Suddenly, there was a couple of crosses coming, and he fumbled it. Yeah, he fumbled a couple of his crosses, and his confidence just went. And confidence seems to be a big, big issue for a lot of our players in our team. I'm not saying for all our players, but a lot of them suffer at the moment with confidence. And I don't know what the answer is. You know, a lot of clubs seem to have, I don't know what they call it. Is it sports psychiatrists, sort of coaches in their teams where they're constantly sort of talking to players and, you know, speaking to them and trying to get in their heads a little bit, helping them mentally. I mean, there's been an argument to say we could have someone like that in our club to kind of help our players. Because let's be honest, we like to think it's a simple fix. If it's a mental, you know, problem, in the fact that, you know, they need to have a bit more belief and a bit more confidence in what they're doing, then you know, surely that's not going to cost them an earth, is it, to bring somebody in, even just for a few months on a small contract? Do you not think that's a good idea?
I do, and I guess the question is, so when Rowett left the club, Dave Carradine left, who was the fitness coach, right? Paul Robinson left, who was a coach, and if you read articles, he's very highly regarded in the game. Whether that's just his agent doing a good job or not, don't know. But we didn't replace them. We haven't brought in a fitness coach. We haven't brought in a sports scientist. We haven't brought in a sports psychologist, even though the mentality of the group stems back to October 2022, as I said yesterday. And the only person we brought in is Andy Myers, who has no experience at this level. So I almost feel like, you know, a lot of people are easy to criticise Joe Edwards, and he has to take the brunt. He's the manager in a results-based business. But ultimately, we're not really helping him, are we?
And also, to that point, what is Andy Myers' job role? I mean, I know he's almost like playing like an assistant, isn't he, to Joe, but wasn't he like a loan manager at Chelsea? So basically, his job is to watch the players that are out on loan and make sure that they're performing, that they're getting game time and things like that. I mean, is that job for the boys? You know, Joe bringing him because he's quite close with him, he knows him, and he wants to come across and help him. I just don't know where the coaching staff is adding real value at the moment. I mean, Joe's clearly a talented coach. I mean, he's proven it over the years and what he's done at Chelsea through academies and getting the gig at England 20 level. But, you know, you do look at the backroom staff, to your point there, chaps, and I just struggle to see where are the big names, where are the coaches, where's the guys that are behind the scenes. Everyone's talking about them and say, you know what, that's why we're good, because that guy behind the coach is helping more. That striker coach there, he's what's making a difference. I can't see that. I can't see how strong our coaching squad is at the moment.
That point on the screen there, our backroom setup all round seems a bit amateur.
Oh, it does. I agree.
Your comments there, Joe and Chris, I'll come to you first. You touched on, again, talking about the board in your show. You spoke about Edwards, you spoke about Alex Aldridge, we spoke about Adam Barrett, Andy Marshall, Andy Myers, all of these names and people behind the scenes that I think what gets lost, maybe not on yourself, Chris, is that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to run a football team. It's not just the 11 men that run out on a pitch. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on in the background that you don't know these people, you don't speak, you never see them, you never get comments from them, but they all play an integral part. We seem to have a lot of people in the club at the moment that aren't very experienced in the roles that they are employed by the club to do. So whilst Joe Edwards is the man that takes the brunt of all the rants and that's football, that's what happens. It happens up and down the country, all over the world. Does he have the right support around him?
No, he doesn't. And he is not exempt from criticism. Joe Edwards is playing a style his players cannot execute, and he's not doing anything to change it. So he's not exempt from criticism. However, at the end of the day, it is a team. It is not a one-man band when it comes to football anymore. And the likes of Aldo, who is responsible for recruitment, the likes of Andy Myers, the likes of even our own Paul Robinson, as much as we like him, Adam Barrett, these are all people that have no experience outside of what they do for us. And to me, that is absolutely bonkers. We've got all these people that are probably, as equally as experienced as us. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a bit, but the point is we are entrusting them to manage the football operation of our club. And it gets exposed when you look at how we're doing at the moment. It really, really does. And when you look at the recruitment, which has been piss poor now for a number of years, we're one of only 3 clubs to have not had a saleable asset this season. Something that has to go somewhere to blame, and that is not Joe Edwards. Let me tell you, that is not Joe Edwards.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you mentioned, and I know you mentioned it in your chat with Chaps the other day, Chris. But you were there with me that day. We were talking to Gary Rowett, weren't we, in the exec lounge? Our mate Gaz. We had a good old chat with him, and as much as he loved Fleming, and he mentioned it, how good Fleming is a role model. He's a pro. He's so great in the change room, whatever. And he said, look, if an offer comes in for 8 million, he'd be tempted to sell him. He said, and use that money to buy it. And he joked around, but he said we could buy another 4 Zien Flemings with the money, because I think he alluded that he paid 1.7 for Zien at the time. So I think he was all for it. But then what's really interesting is that he then mentioned about the Jed Wallace situation, and he told us that John Berylson had the option to sell him to Nottingham Forest for is it £1 million with 6 months of contract, and he told Rowett, I don't know why he trusts us, but he told us this anyway, that basically James Berylson said to him, John Berylson said to him, no, I don't want to sell him for that. Keep him and go for it and try and get promoted. So I get the impression that John, bless his soul, John Berylson, it wasn't about money for him. It wasn't about selling players on. It was about trying to make us better and try to keep our best players. And I think that's kind of bit us on the back a little bit, because I would rather take £1 million for Jed in hindsight. Now I would probably sold. Much as I love Zien Fleming, I think he's a great player. Perhaps we could have done with that money to help reinvest and buy other players. It's just so hard, isn't it? Without looking at a crystal ball, it's very, very difficult. I know, but when you could turn the clocks back, would you do things differently, knowing what we know now?
Well, that, Joe, is absolutely remarkable, because we've got it's almost as if you've seen this. We've got a Coventry fan in the chat who's posted. I'll put all the comments up. I'm trying to get through as many of them as I can. Finn, you finished just outside the playoffs. Great season. Unlucky. Any regrets about Rowett moving on? Your comment there, Joe, about we don't have a crystal ball. Hindsight about the goalkeeper we mentioned earlier last year, and all bits and pieces. As I touched on earlier, the club has been rocked. There's no two ways about it, and that's part of the problem. For me, I don't think there's a regret necessarily about Rowett moving on, because it was becoming a bit stale and the fans were turning, and it just it just felt like it was the right time to go. Yeah. However, I think the regret that the club may end up having come the end of this season is that they didn't make that decision at the beginning of the summer after the Blackburn game and started the rebuild process after Gary Rowett at that point. I think that's the regret. Not that he left, it was the timing for me.
So I personally think, and this is based on zero knowledge, chap, so please don't read into it, but I have a feeling that may have happened had JB not passed away.
100%.
And I honestly agree that rocked the club more than we even know sitting here today. And therefore, what you are seeing is essentially a hack solution of, please, Gary, stay on for a bit. It got to a position where in the middle of the season where he felt it was untenable. So the club agreed for him to move on. They didn't think that relegation was on the cards. So they was like, right, we'll start the summer rebuild now by bringing Joe Edwards in. However, we've now got a manager who will be perfect for a rebuild, but is the complete and opposite of someone that will be able to get us out of a relegation zone, which ironically, I think there is no chance we would be near the relegation zone with Gary because of the way in which he played. That's not to say I prefer him over Joe, by the way. I'm just stating that view. And I also think some of our summer signings were also representative of that. I think that Casper De Norre is a super signing, and if we remain in the Championship, I only see his value growing, which is a good thing. Nisbet, I remember saying when we signed Nisbet, I had the same knee injury as him, right? I remember doing a little show about this, so I knew just how bad and how difficult his knee could be. And then I think Sarkic was a panic buy because for whatever reason, we almost forced George Long out of the club and we had to bring someone in. So it's just a hacked solution together this season. And I just hope and pray we can get through it and then we can rebuild in the summer.
I'm quietly confident if we get through this season and survive, I think the summer transfer window will be quite an exciting one. I can see Joe bringing lots of youngsters. I mean, that's where the time when a lot of academy players get let go and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's probably loads that he's got his eye on or spoken to already that will join him in the summer, which he couldn't really do in this January transfer window because of this and contract and whatnot, But I just don't think. I just feel if we can stay up, we'll build for the summer and we can probably build the team that Joe wants. At the moment, we've all said it, he's got a Gary Rowett team and he's trying to put, square pegs into round holes at the moment. And it's just not working, sadly, is it?
Absolutely. I mean, Daniel, your comment there, I don't know if you've only just joined us. We were touching on the recruitment side of things and bits and pieces behind the scenes. If you haven't also watched Chat with Chaps, who is that way, he touched on it in his video in the week where he mentioned that no sellable assets, and for this season, one of only I think 3 or 4 clubs. The last time we got a transfer fee of any real value was for George Saville, who we ended up writing off part of that fee to bring him back as well when we did. Steve Morrison before that, which was many, many years ago. Recruitment is something that I think Joe Edwards potentially was brought into to start a behind the scenes process of youth. We saw it with Adam Mayer. Unfortunately, with the situation we find ourselves in, that it's a big issue. We can't do anything now. We can't do anything until the summer. We're stuck with the players that we've got. So recruitment, whilst that is a big problem and one of the massive factors as to where we are, I think again the summer will be the time that we see that. Guys,
sorry to interrupt you, Steve. Before you end that one, obviously we can't bring players at the moment. We can still bring in coaching staff, can't we?
Yeah.
So the point I'm making is I don't rate Adam Barrett as an assistant manager. I always thought he was a little bit of a, yes, sir, for Gary Rowett. He didn't really sort of challenge him too much. I don't believe what it is. I didn't see it for myself. Again, I'm struggling to understand what Andy Meyer's role is. I see him sitting on the bench looking at a laptop or his iPad, whatever they call it, looking at stats and stuff throughout the game. But I don't see him, alongside Joe on the edge of that box, shouting at players, giving instructions and, making things happen. So would Joe have benefited by having an experienced, older head type assistant manager who's probably been a manager alongside him to kind of give him that kind of help, if you like it, in advisory? Because I don't feel at the moment he's got anybody advising him. There's no question or doubt in my mind that he's an excellent coach, probably one of your best young coaches you will find. But what he doesn't have is someone alongside him who's going to almost educate and help him a little bit. I mean, yes, you can say he's worked very closely with the likes of Tuchel and Mourinho and Conte, but let's be honest, he's in the kind of backroom staff a little bit. He's not really there with them discussing tactics during a game, is he? So where's that experience come from? He's got no real guidance in tactics, really, and what he should be saying to players and stuff, I'm sure he's great in the training pitch. I'm sure the players are really enjoying that and developing under his coaching style a little bit. And you can probably see 1 or 2 have thrived from it. But in match days, I think he can do with someone next to him who's experienced head that's going to advise him, give him a little word in his ear, and kind of help him a little bit,
I don't know at this point. Are we going to have coaches come in because let's face it, at any given moment from now until the end of the season with a bad result, Joe Edwards could be out the door. Let's be honest, that's a real possibility. Why are they going to bring in?
Who would you bring in if Joe Edwards was at the door?
That's the thing. All they're going to do, the club, is they won't replace him now. They'll just get Adam Barrett in there as caretaker coach until the end of the season. And all Adam Barrett's going to do, he's going to do exactly what he did when he was in temporary charge, and almost kind of like replicate what Rowett did, and just be very, very defensive, be hard to beat. And we're going to go backwards again. I mean, is it too late to kind of implement that style with what will be 12 games left of the season if he goes after this one, you know?
I honestly don't know is the answer to the question. I think everyone.
Also, sorry to interrupt you, Stephen. If he does go and we survive, we kind of fucking need Joe Edwards back again, don't we? Like in the summer to then start doing the rebuild and give us what we want for next season, because that's when we really need him. In some ways, we kind of needed someone to come in temporary charge, like a Warnock or someone like that, who could kind of keep us afloat this season and sustain us a little bit, with Joe just coming in the summer and then do his own rebuild. But I think we probably brought him a little bit too soon.
The problem is, and Chris, I'm not skirting around your question. I genuinely don't have an answer for you because I don't know. All the names that I see on social media and all the names that people are going, we should get this bloke, we should get this bloke. I look at them and think, no thanks. There's nobody.
Us, will they?
No, but even some of the lesser names. I mean, I know it might have been a little bit of a joke, but people are talking about Sam Allardyce and people like that, and you just look at it and go, "Please, just stop it. That's not going to happen." I don't know what the answer is, and I would love for the listeners, you guys, any names. Chris is pointing very, very drastically. I'm going to assume. Is it this one?
It's the first name from Stephen.
Alex Neil.
If there was one, listen, I want to make my position clear. I want Joe Edwards to stay, and I want us to build around him. However, if we had to, I need to also comment on something that's gone in the chat. If we were to go for it, I would go for Alex Neil. I've actually met Alex Neil and spent time with him. Randomly, I met him at a boxing match and I spent about an hour chatting to him. He's a very nice guy, knows his football, I mean, from my perspective, and he had a lot of nice things to say about our club. So I quite like Alex Neil. People that think Nugent should manage the team, honestly, speak to anyone involved with the club and then they'll tell you, trust me, Nugent should be nowhere near the first team. Believe you me. On anyone that keeps saying about Nugent being close to the management.
I think it's telling that he's been an under-21s coach for a long time, hasn't he, or under-23, whatever it is, and not quite made the step up. So I don't know, but the $1 million question is as you say. Okay, Alex Neil, you've got Paul Heckingbottom, you've got I think I've seen a couple of other people, Ita Karanka. People like that, the names are just being rolled off. I don't see at the moment anyone that fills me with any confidence, because all of these managers, all of them, every single one, if you look at where they've had relative success at this level, they've been at clubs where they've had money to spend. They maybe, I mean, Alex Neil probably at Preston might not have had as much money as some of the others and did a very good job there, but it's just. I don't know, and this is the biggest problem I have is that when Gary left the club, when Gary Rowett left the club, there was a list of names. They might not have all been everyone's favourite. We all had our opinions. We all did shows about it and spoke about every week on what we were going to have and what we were going to do. But there was a few names that you went, yeah, all right, I can see that one could work. People say Nathan Jones. I think it sums it up that he's taken a job at the bottom of League One. With our that side down the road. I just don't see the list of names as of right now to fill me with any confidence. I don't, and that's why I don't know if it's desperation of wanting it to work really desperately with Joe Edwards, and I much like Chris said, I really want it to work for him, but if it doesn't, who really is going to get us out of this?
This is it.
That's what I'm saying. If we left to Adam Barrett, I can tell you that now. Yeah, he'll have to step in, and it's going to be a big ask for him. You know, sort too much with us. Hey,
far too much hate for folks' lack of hair on here. Baldy's rule. No comment.
Gents,
go on, Chris. Go on.
Sorry, I wanted to go back to the recruitment point, and I just wanted to read out our signings for the last 3 seasons.
Oh God! Yeah. Do you know what? Before you do this, I actually was putting something together on this, and not for the show. It was for something else. And I know the list of names you're going to read out, and this is real depressing.
Have you noticed that Chris loves a depressing stat, doesn't he?
I love facts, mate. I love facts, and unfortunately, a lot of the things that we talk about surrounding the club that we love are depressing. So, 2021 season, again for the Championship, our signings were on loan Mason Bennett and Scott Malone.
Can I just say that Mason Bennett, I've heard someone say this, apparently he's played 32 consecutive games this season for his club.
How many has he started?
Oh, really? Is that what it is? He's been sub a lot, has he?
Just have a look at his look at the total minutes he's played versus the
really right. Okay, I didn't know that.
Tell you the whole picture.
I thought he started these games, and I was shocked. And there's that conspiracy about our training ground again. I thought, there you go. There's your answer.
At the end of the day, he's playing in League Two, whatever. Like so. Anyway, I like Mason Bennett for Millwall, but it's just shame he couldn't keep fit. So Mason Bennett, Scott Malone, George Evans. And also, when I say these names, I want you to think about where they are now.
Good point.
So that's key. Troy Parrott, Kenneth Zahor, Mikhail Kieftenbeld.
Wow.
That was our transfer business in 2021, right? I'm just going to keep going. 21-22, we brought Sav back to the club. Ollie Burke, Benica Phobie, Luke Freeman, George Long, Scott Malone and Mason Bennett on permanence. And then the good signing was Danny Baddard on loan, but we didn't convert him. And then last season, obviously, to me, it gets a bit better last season. Zian Fleming, obviously, to replace Jed Wallace. Joe's best mate, Vogie. Benica Phobie for the second time, which should never have happened. George Honeyman, who I think is starting to show his worth. Callum Stiles on loan. Ollie Burke again. Duncan Watmore. Jamie Shackleton on loan. And Charlie Cresswell.
That's not a bad bit of business that year.
It's not bad, but none of it, other than Fleming, is
and Honeyman.
Sorry, what I'm saying is, it's not bad other than Fleming for resale value.
Oh, resale value. Okay,
I love George Honeyman.
Yeah,
and I think even Finn said he was brilliant against them because he was. Let's be honest, no one's going to turn around and pay £1 million for him. They're just not. He's going to end up either signing a new contract, he'll go on a free and sign for Rotherham or something. Like this, you just know he is. He's not going to go on to a club better than us. When's the last time that we sold someone that went to a club bigger or better than us?
Jed Wallace. Well, we didn't really sell him, did we? He left on a free.
Jed Wallace, which he left on a free.
Yeah.
The
you probably have to go back as far as dare I say it, probably go back as far as Morrison, maybe, for anyone that's left up for better things.
Well, the big thing is Sab's the other one that you would have thought that Middlesbrough would have had more chance of making the Prem than we did. I know they didn't, but you would say that they had a better chance than us. But the big thing about that list, Chris, and we've got a Sheffield Wednesday fan in the chat the Wednesday week. We will come on to the game tomorrow in a little bit, but tonight's show has been a little bit of a rant about all things that's going on at the moment. So we will get to the game tomorrow. That list of players, Chris, The one thing that I spotted in that is if you take out, I would say, Dan Ballard and Charlie Cresswell, every single one of those players, you could essentially, we've just brought in, not worked, brought in another one of a similar ilk. Look at George Evans. Then you've got Kieftenbeld, very similar players that you just tried and it went and they didn't really work. Ollie Burke, Mason Bennett, we've tried them in the same kind of positions, wide on the left, wide on the right. It didn't work. I know it's not just an exact science. They played in other positions, but we just kind of kept recycling different players that play the same way as the other players that they just replaced. It's never been a real upgrade or someone a little bit different. It's just been like for like every single time. And that's the problem. That's where, for me, the recruitment, our recruitment policy has just been right. Can they play in 4 positions? Yes. Right. Have they fallen out of favour with their club or not been fit over the last 6 months? Yes. And under Gary Rowett, have they played for Derby, Stoke, Birmingham, or are they from that part of the world? Yes. Right. Okay. We'll give them a try. It's just been wingers.
Well, weirdly, we did better with those players than we did with, which I think it's been some good business over last summer and also the loan market in January of late. I think we brought much better players in the last year or so than we did back then. Because as Chris said, where those players gone to, they've all gone to lower divisions, lower leagues, but yet we were challenging for a playoff spot with the likes of Mason Bennett, Malone, and people like that. And
that's because of the way that Rowett played. Yeah. I think, Chris, again, to paraphrase you, it was a 3-step tactic. I think you said it was defend, hit on the counter, and basically stop the other team playing. And that's what those players were. They're all relatively grafters.
And also back in those days on the route, we used to score a lot more goals from set pieces. I mean, Charlie Cresswell scored 4 or 5 goals for us, so if not 6, I think, in one season. I'm sure Cooper scored a few. Hutchinson scored a few as well. Whereas look at our defenders now, apart from Wes Harding, I think he scored 2 this season, or 3 maybe. I can't see where our big defenders contribute when it comes to free kicks and corners at the moment. And we're certainly not scoring enough with our strikers either in comparison to last season.
Joe, I agree with you there, but just on a point what you made just a second, and Chris, I'll come to you after. You said that we arguably did better with those players that we've brought in over the last couple of seasons, but look where they are now, and we've brought in a better standard of player. Realistically, in our squad at the moment, how many of the players in our first team squad, not loans, because loans will go back to Arsenal, they'll go back to Spurs, and
loans make a big part. I know what you're going to get.
Yeah, they do.
Our team,
but how many of the Millwall contracted players, whether they're running out of contract at the end of the season or will be here beyond the season, how many of them will sign for a better club necessarily, or how many of them will stay in the Championship or above?
So players I think that are good and maybe if we were to sell them can move up into a better club. I think you got Fleming. I think you got Casper De Nor. I think you've got Roman Esse. I think you've got Maku potentially. And they're just the players that are permanent with us at the moment.
Right.
I can't see many others that would leave us and go to a better team in our division for the point you're making. But there's probably 4 of them, I'll say, at least 4 or 5.
Yes or no? Zian Fleming?
Yeah.
Casper De Nor?
100%.
Romain Esse?
Yep.
And Ademola Maku?
No, not at the minute.
Really?
And outside of those, are there any that you would say, outside of those 4, are there any that you might think, perhaps?
Sorry, Stephen, is the question go to a club above us or stay in the Championship? Sorry.
Well, will they go on to play at a higher level than us, for example? Will a championship club look at our players and go, yes, we want him?
But does that mean like a better championship club that's got every right to challenge for a playoff spot or promotion, for example? That's still a level above, isn't it?
Okay, let me rephrase it. If they're out of the teams that are in the top 10 in the championship, how many of them look at our squad and go, we'll have them?
Well, Fleming and Fleming for sure. I think Casper, they will start to talk about him, but it's his first season. I think with the success that Fleming had last season, I think he's still riding off that crest at the moment. He's not having the best season this season, but I think a lot of other teams, when they look at us, they look at Zian Fleming as a danger man. Little do they know he's probably not quite firing on all cylinders at the moment. All those performances lately.
Joe, I mean, we've got, I think, Finn's still here, and we've also got the Wednesday podcast. So let's ask them. So if you're still on, Finn, and the Wednesday
which players,
podcast, who would you class as our danger men? Who would you be, if you could sign one or two players from us, who would you be wanting to sign? Let's ask them that question.
On that as well, as a little plug, I believe Ben went on the Wednesday week podcast in the week to talk about the game this weekend. So if you haven't listened to it, go and check that out. I believe it was that podcast. I think Mickey's just let me know.
And I think the question was asked. I think the question was asked in that show. I think Ben mentioned that as well. And I think, unless they're going to say something different now, I'm pretty sure they picked out Zian Fleming as the one player that they would have if they could pick any player out of our team.
Fleming and Honeyman.
Who said that?
Finn, Coventry
fan.
But what I would say...
Sorry to interrupt you, Chris. Can I just ask Finn, is that purely on stereotypically what they think of our players, or is that going by what he saw in the game the other week when we played against them? Were there two players that stuck out, for example?
And I think that's what I was coming to. So Honeyman had a super game against Coventry. He doesn't, in fairness, since he's gone into that midfield role, I think it's fair to say he's probably been one of our best players.
Oh, I think he's been exuberating. I mean, it's really helped his career. What you want to call it? Yeah, I think you've seen a different player, haven't you? And it's weird, because I remember, again, not name dropping again, but it's always that back at on the exec lounge when we spoke to George Honeyman, we had that end of season party. Do you remember? And we were on a table who sat behind me, and I was chatting to him for a little bit. I remember saying to him at the time, his best. I said, "What's your favourite position?" He was playing right wing for us on the route at the time, and he said to me, "If I'm honest, centre mid." And under my breath, I was like, "Yeah, right, whatever." Thinking there's no way you're going to play there. Because at the time, Saville and Billy Mitchell were bossing it for us, weren't they? And
I'm sure he played his very first game, which I think was at home to Stoke, if I recall.
Right.
Last season when Cresswell scored, if you remember. Yes, I'm sure Honeyman started that game in the centre of the park.
Did he really? I think he did, actually. Right, yeah.
After that, he moved to the right wing, and he's not a right winger. Yeah. If he's a right winger, then
no.
That's definitely his position in centre mid. He's got energy, he's tenacious. He doesn't stop running. He's got a great first touch, got a good awareness. He's busy.
That comment there is from Mickey for the benefit of the listeners. So far behind on the comments, just can't get the staff, the lion blue. Mickey, you stick to. He needs to stick to his transplant. Off,
Mickey.
Enjoy your night off, then, mate. Join us then, Michael. Join us.
Is he drunk? I don't know. That's
probably
too. To be honest with you, there's a couple of comments here asking if Joe's been on the Spice. So I don't know if that's in relation.
Is that Joe Edwards they're referring to?
Might as well be. There you go. Fleming and Honeyman for the Coventry support. So Dillon would get into any Championship or Premier League side outside the big.
Thank you, Connor. Connor knows what he's talking about.
My point is okay. Denora and Fleming, I think we all can admit are probably a step above everyone else that we've got. Romain Esse has that potential value to that we can kind of look at, but the rest of them. Let's for a start. The 5 players out of contract at the end of the season: Bart, Leonard, Hutchinson, Saville, and Tom Bradshaw. Only George Saville, for me, would probably get picked up by another Championship club. And that would be a low-end Championship club, in my opinion. The rest of them, because of the age of how old they are, the phase of their career, and the fact that a couple of them are now starting to pick up injuries, they're never going to get a look in at this level. Never, ever going to get picked up. So
who would have thought
I think
George Saville was arguably one of our best players last season, and I wouldn't be sad to see him go in the season if we let him go. It's a shame.
I would.
I just don't think he's the same player as he was before.
I would, but I do think, as much as I love him, and he's probably been my favourite player over the last few seasons. It's getting to the point where, and I think it might have been you, Chris. I don't know, it might have Joe. One of you said that the Championship now is an athletic, pacey division. It's not.
He's getting found out a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, it's Premier League 2, and
you
have to
on the ball, Sav, always.
Yeah.
You have to have mobility. You have to be able to get around the pitch. You've got to pass and move, create space. And unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, I think Sav is falling by the wayside in this division because of that.
He looked a little bit lost against Ipswich, to be fair. I mean, there's so many times the players were running around circles and he didn't know who he's picking up. He's looking left, looking right. He's pointing to his teammates who to pick up when they were his players he should be picking those up. And he just looked like a lost school kid in a playground. Didn't know where he had to line up for his class. It just seems it's a shame to see the player that was once, like I said, one of our best players, and he seems like he's lost his legs a little bit. It's a real shame.
When John Burrelson passed away, Hutch made a promise to build on his legacy. Lads, it's time. Tomorrow, go out and start fulfilling that promise. Credit Phil Clark from Twitter. I completely agree, 100%. On the subject of tomorrow, there are other comments that I need to get through. And yes, I'm behind them. I don't usually do the comments. Mickey is involved in all of that, and I just sit here and talk. So this has been new for me. Going on to tomorrow, I firstly will say this man needs to be dropped before I show the comment tomorrow. I don't think it will happen, but for me, it needs to happen. If Cooper is dropped tomorrow, who is captain, current form, Honeyman?
Zian Fleming.
So we've got Fleming from Joe.
Especially with his performances, he deserves it. I think if you're going to give a captaincy to players on merit, then you've got to give it to him on performances. The last 3 games, I think he's been trying his hardest. He looks like the best player on the pitch, and he wants to win. And I think him being captain as a leader, hopefully he'll carry us and pull us through. And we might get an extra sort of 5-10% out of him, which would be quite exciting to watch.
That comment on screen there from Tunbridge MFC. Our recruitment in the past has been down to one person, that's Bob Pearson. The man was a genius.
I agree, but I don't think Bob Pearson would do as good a job now as he did back then.
Game's changed.
Back then, you've got to remember, we were playing in lower divisions. If you're an average player with a bit about you, he'll probably spot that talent and it can make a difference, especially if they're young as well. But today, it ain't about that. Today, it's about signing either, really sort of like good foreign players that we can probably get on at a decent price, not necessarily cheap, but at a good price, or spotting young, talented youngsters from lower divisions. I don't think he was quite that sort of person, to be fair.
I do agree. Football has changed, and I think there's so much made now, isn't there, about potential? That's why SA. There was a comment that was put up. I must admit,
that's a few years ago. Yeah, that was.
What does everyone see in SA? I don't. Now, I thought that there were 2 passes that Remain SA played on Wednesday night that were absolutely out of this world. One in the first half that had Obafemi been on the pitch and not Tom Bradshaw running onto it, Obafemi would have got away and had a shot on goal. It was sort of along the floor, about a 30-40-yard pass. Unbelievable. I think Remain SA has got all the potential in the world. He needs to be playing football. I don't think we can rely on an 18-year-old kid, but there is a player in there. There is certainly a player in there. I've started to calm it a little bit in the sense of perhaps he does need to develop and grow. He's still a young kid, but there is definitely potential in there. I just don't think that in this situation you're ever going to see the best out of him because we're not playing a way that suits his game personally.
And the point you made earlier, had his through ball was put through to Obafemi instead of Bradshaw, Obafemi would have took that touch past the defender and he'd been 1-on-1 on the goalkeeper. But you watch Bradshaw, he takes the touch, which wasn't a bad touch to be fair, but as soon as he takes that touch, he's got nowhere to go with it. He puts a hopeful cross into the box where there's no one there. I think the nearest person, I think you mentioned, that was Murray Wallace coming through, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah, I mean, we always. I deliberately didn't review the game Wednesday because it was depressing. But whenever we attacked, it almost felt like we were attacking with like 1-2 players tops, whereas Ipswich always felt like they had 5 or 6 players attacking at once.
Yeah.
They just ran rings around us. We're not athletic enough. We're not fit. And that's why we need to get the likes of Obafemi and Norton Cuffey on the pitch, because they give us that athleticism.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And so we had Chris's team earlier. Joe, if it's up to you, if you were in the dugout, or if you were Joe Edwards, how would you line up?
At the moment, it's hard to say because I don't know who's available and who's not really.
Okay, work on the basis that you've got the same squad as Wednesday night.
Who's back?
And for argument's sake, I would say let's say that Obafemi is fit. You've got the same bunch of players plus Obafemi.
Have we got Brooke Norton Cuffey back?
And
He'll be back.
All right. Let's put it this way. Okay. Everyone's fit because there's only a few that are Nisbet and Hutchinson, which Hutch might get. Yeah. Everybody's fit, or who we expect to be fit. Yeah, who we expect to be fit. Who are you picking?
Okay, so I would say we'll go for a flat back 4. I will probably go for Danny McNamara right back. Say what you want about Danny McNamara. He's not a wing back. He's never really been that good or that effective in the final third. But as a defender or a right back, very rarely have I ever seen him come short. So I'll put him as right back. I'll go Murray Wallace left back. I'll go 2 centre backs with Ryan Leonard and Tanganga if they're both fit and available. I'll drop Cooper and Wes Harding. Obviously Sarkic in goal. I'll go with Honeyman and Casper Denor in the centre midfield. I'll go with I'll probably go with Esse on the right, Zian in the middle in the 10. Esse in the middle in the 10, Zian on the left, attacking forward, cutting in on his right foot, and then we'll have Brooke Norton Cuffey on the right. So we've got 4-2-3, and then Tanganga as the 1. So you've got.
Do you mean Obafemi as the 1?
Obafemi is the 1. Sorry, what did I say? Oh, Tanganga.
Tanganga.
Jesus Christ. Tanganga at the back. Obafemi up front on his own. So yeah, so it's 4-2-3-1. And also just push our forwards back. I mean, I say push our forwards back. You could almost allow Brooke Norton Cuffey to kind of like play a bit more forward because you don't want Danny McNamara going too forward anyway, do you? But he'll give him the license to kind of attack, hopefully.
I wish I'd got to that comment just before you, because I think you went a long way around the house about picking your.
Well, I didn't know who's available, did I? No point. I could have picked out anyone, but if half the fucking team are unavailable, then what's the point in picking a team?
Do you know what? That team that has just been put on the screen is very, very close, Connor. That's very close to how I would be playing. My difference would be to switch, take out Wes Harding. So I would be bringing back Bart. I never got to say it earlier, but I would be bringing back Bart at the moment. It's such a big game for me. Danny Mack at right back, Wes Harding, Tanganga and Leonard, the 2 centre backs, Murray Wallace on the left back. I would have a middle at the middle. Which is what I
said, wasn't it? That's my 4 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. I would have the middle 2 of Denor and Honeyman, and so you got 4-2. Then the front 4 for me would be a little bit different. I would go probably Brooke Norton Cuffey on the right, assuming he's fit. Mayer on the left, and Esse behind Fleming. So very close to what we've got there. But I would go. No,
Obafemi.
No,
really.
The reason being is because I think 1, you get the best out of Zian Fleming when he's in and around the box.
Yeah. 100%.
We need a goal. We need the talisman of last year. We need him to step up, and the only way he's going to step up is when he's in and around the box, being able to actually put the ball in the back of the net, not shoved out wide. I think if you've got someone in the box, we saw it against Preston. He made space. Okay, we could argue that the Preston fans and manager said he was unmarked. You put Mayer and Brooke Norton-Cuffy putting crosses into the box, Fleming can win that header. He's not good. That's his role, and I think just an opportunity to give him the chance to show the other two, Bradshaw and Obafemi, that if you stay in the middle and you actually, you're the striker. Tom Bradshaw on Wednesday night ran out to the wing and put a cross in. And it was a really good cross into the box, but he's supposed to be the one on the end of it. We didn't have anyone in the box. Say to Fleming, stick in the middle, and that would be it for me. But I think I'm at the point now where Zian Fleming is probably our hope to find goals in this team. And the only way it's going to happen is if you get him on the pitch, central, and actually bearing down on goal, personally. We've been going for nearly 2 hours. Chris, probably about the hour mark for you. There's still loads and loads of comments. I'm trying to get my way through.
It's been half an hour, doesn't it, Stephen? It feels like it's been half an hour. It's so quick.
I know. Yeah. I've starred 23 messages that I wanted to come back to and ask you guys your points on them, and I don't know if we're necessarily going to be able to go through every single one of them. I'm going to keep a couple that I'm definitely going to come to. One here, Tom Bradshaw, getting a lot of abuse online today. Lots of Wall fans getting the ump with the LBGT and trans stuff. Should be concentrating on practice, putting the ball in the net. Big news online. Personally, I'm not going to comment on it too much. Millwall are contractually obligated to get involved with these kind of things, and Tom Bradshaw seems to be the one that they've put in front of the cameras for it. I certainly won't be abusing him for it. Not saying that on what side of the fence I sit on. However, someone's got to do it. I don't think it's right if our players are being abused for it. This is what's got to happen. Obafemi won't be back. He left Coventry at half time after being subbed. I don't know how true that is.
No,
I don't know.
He then played. He didn't leave at half time. I think he played 60 minutes, didn't he, in that game? 65.
I'm not sure. I'm not too sure. But it's something. He's had an attitude in the past, but
I think Joe's just building his fitness back up, isn't he? He's done 45 minutes, then he's done 65. I think
if he's in the Wednesday, tell him.
Absolutely.
You'll know.
Leeds has been moved to a Sunday, guys. I know it's only a small thing, but
we don't know what time it goes, do we? The chance could be an early kickoff or a late kickoff at 5:30, which would be a bit of a shame.
Yeah, just again, I don't think that does us any favours personally, but. This was an interesting point, talking about off the field antics and issues. This, I thought, summed up very nicely. We need to sort our pre-seasons out, though Dartford, Welling and Gillingham not competitive enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Couldn't agree more that the standard of our opposition in friendlies is shocking. It is absolutely shocking. And they only do it because they're local. And I don't know, the police must, the cost or whatever. But that is a real big problem. I completely agree, Alan. I've got another one of your points to come back to. This comment went down very, very well earlier. A few people replied back to it. I didn't get to it in time, but I will now. You say that the championship has changed in the last 5 years. The thing is, we haven't. We've still got 8 first-teamers from the 18-19 season. Bang on, Lions Raw. 100%. You've got the full backing of us boys, and I'm sure plenty of the listeners out there, because I've been banging on about it. 7 of the players in our first team squad were signed by Neil Harris. So that tells you all you need to know. A couple of little bit depressing ones. Maybe for Chris, he likes a depressing comment, doesn't he?
Love it.
If we change manager and go for a pragmatic, boring defensive manager, we could stay up. But what a missed opportunity to evolve the club's style.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Glenn.
Agree
more.
Which is ultimately what the club were doing when they brought Edwards to the club. At the end of the day, that's the strategy they were trying to implement. But none of us, for 1 second, well, I'm a pessimist, as the boys have alluded to. For 1 second, thought we'd be in a relegation battle when we changed manager, and here we are. So
absolutely,
I truly believe if we make it to the summer of the season and we stay up, I think we've got a really, really exciting season ahead of us next season. I think it just needs a lot of changes, a lot of players out, a lot of players in. And we'll finally see Joe Edwards' team next season. But it's a gamble. You know, is he going to keep us up? That's the question, isn't it? Really, you know.
This is a bit of a jokey comment, but it made me laugh. Get Joey Barton in with Alex Scott as the number 2. I had to start that because Chris is it's just Chris. I'm going to ask you guys, as I say, there's so many comments coming through still. I'm going to put up this one. Firstly, can I have a score prediction from you both? Also, based on this might not necessarily mean much to the listeners, can I also have a first goal scorer for you both? And I am going to make a note of it. So, Joe, first goal scorer for the Lions and a result tomorrow, please.
Okay, I really hope that Obafemi starts. I think, you know, he's due a good game and a goal. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 win and Obafemi to score first.
Chris, I don't know how to respond to Joe saying we're going to win 3-0 tomorrow. So I'm just going to move over to you. Can I have a result for you, please, and first goal scorer?
If we pick the team that I said, so Mr. Edwards, if you're watching, we will win 2-0, and Zian Fleming will score the first goal.
Okay, I'm going to go for the most nervy of nervy 1-0 wins.
Oh, I don't think I could go through that.
And I think I'm going to back Zian Fleming to be the man to find a way to get us ahead. Question that was starred again from Alan. He come through with quite a lot of very, very good points. Just to wrap it up, this will be the kind of last kind of topic, and I will try and get through some of the comments. Question for you lads: will we stay up? Simple, yes or no?
Yes.
Chris,
believe.
The look on his face. The look on his face. You did it to me earlier. Now it's payback. Come on, mate.
Ask me tomorrow at 5:00. No, if I had to answer now, I'd say yes. I would. I'd say yes. Just.
I'll go with yes, but I'm firmly in the let's have a chat at 5:00 in the group and tomorrow afternoon because it's.
3-0 win. Status quo is going to be blaring out at full time. And
when's the last time we heard that?
Yes.
3-1 Millwall. Sarkic to score first. Mickey, you might want to go and put a bet on
not
that.
A fucking own goal. Is that what it means? It's an own goal.
Next season.
You know, it in again.
Tangfastic own goal or Harding, we lose 2-0.
Oh, don't.
I think you boys need to have a chat with Ben and pass some of that positivity on to him. Ben
is a realist.
Ben, no, honestly, you say that Wednesday week. When we visited your place earlier in the season, Ben told everyone we were going to win 6-0 and Joe Edwards was taking us to the Champions League. So there is positivity in there. And Ben, he's probably not watching. He's on his holiday at the moment in Spain. I'm sure if he is watching, he's a few beers in, but he'll be telling everyone that we're going to win the Champions League in 3 years' time. If Edwards goes Sunday, that's possibly in relation to staying up. 0-0, Fleming to score first, Ken Clark 2-0. Mickey, come back, always forgiven. I promise not to moan about keeping up with the comments. Yes, I know I've struggled with them, but there's been so many. We really appreciate it, guys. It's not me dismissing it. This show, the live, is built on you guys interacting with us, watching, liking, subscribing. I know that some of you guys probably have watched Chris in the week. You've watched me and Joe on previous shows. We all really, really appreciate the support and all the comments. We take all the feedback. We try to listen to things and improve what we put out. And then Joe says we're going to win 3-0 and it all falls apart. But we do try. Mickey is back on Sunday. Mbappe wants to join Millwall next season. 1-0 deflection off of someone's hairy arse. I'll take it, mate. I will absolutely take it. Not been that many comments. He is lying. I can cope with more. Well, guys, on Sunday, if you can just put up as many comments as you like and Mickey can deal with it. As I say, final words for the show. Joe, can you give us some positivity? Yes, okay, you're saying it's going to be 3-0, but can we have some final words of wisdom from yourself, please?
Okay, so I do think the players have been trying, all by probably one or two of them slightly off pace at the moment. So I do believe they are trying. But tomorrow, they know how important this game's going to be. They know it's a must-win game. From what I'm hearing inside the camp, these boys are up for it. There's a real togetherness. There's a real fighting spirit. And they know what's after them. And they're going to go out there, they're going to deliver it. And they're going to go out there and smash it. Get behind them. Yeah, I mean, I'll excuse our home fans for the Ipswich game because a lot of them were sat at home watching fucking Sky TV and watching us on the box. They didn't want to bother about the effort to come down there. But tomorrow, we're going to have a decent turnout, I'm pretty sure. Let's get behind the boys. Let's make the Den a fortress. Let's be vocal. Let's be noisy. Let's get in there. And then, I'm sure the boys will go out there and do the business. Come on. 3-0. Come on.
Chris, if Joe was Mr. Positive, I will ask you for some words of wisdom, but I might ask you for let's have some words of realism as well.
Okay, you want words of realism? Words of realism. Sheffield Wednesday are on a better run of form than we are. Fact.
Slightly better.
Yeah, but they are. They lost. I think their last game they lost to Leicester, and before that they beat Birmingham, who have been improving under Tony Mowbray. So they are coming to us in much better form than they were when we played them last time. Okay, they will bring a lot of fans. They're a big club, and believe you me, they will make a lot of noise. So there's 133 people listening right now. If you're going tomorrow, well, first of all, go tomorrow. Right, I don't want any excuses. Even I'm not making any for tomorrow. And go support the club. Don't get on their back. Tomorrow is an absolute must-win game. Believe you me, we win tomorrow, we are in a much better position. Stating the obvious, but it is a massive 6-pointer. So, yes, there is no easy game in the Championship, and Sheffield Wednesday will go into that with probably as much confidence, if not more than we will. But I genuinely believe we have enough to come out on top.
Let's go.
Well, I tweeted the other day a couple of thoughts after the game and was a little bit animated and a little bit annoyed about what happened. And the next day, calmer thoughts prevail, shall we say, after sort of reflection and as you do, much like most of the guys in the comments, we love our club. We go. Joe was there at Coventry. We've been to many away games this year. We're going to plenty more coming up. I bought my ticket for Blackburn, which I'm stupid, I know. But anyway, I said Sheffield Wednesday was probably the proudest moment of Joe Edwards' career. It was his first job as the main man. It was probably one of the best days of his life, his family. It was everything that he probably dreamt of.
And it went all downhill from there.
It did. But if there's ever been a time where we need a result, it's again at against Sheffield Wednesday. And as Sam said, we need players. We need the players coming out and fighting for the badge. We need as much support as possible. I don't always buy into the fact that when the team's not doing very well, that you don't go. You go through thick and thin. We're Millwall fans, and we'll still be there when we're in League One or the Championship. So I would say tomorrow is the biggest game of the club's season. It's probably the biggest game that we've had for a while. I know people will say Blackburn, but I think tomorrow could be either a real show that we've got. I cut out there, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
I did, yeah. That's great timing. It's an opportunity for us to show that our players are fighting for the badge. So as Chris said, we'll be there tomorrow. We'll give them our support, and let's hope that the Lions can get 3 points and try and turn it around. That's been it for another episode of Friday Night Live. Guys, I really appreciate all the comments. I've tried to get through as many of them as possible. Mickey's been causing havoc by adding comments on himself. You can give him abuse on Sunday. Feel free. Thank you very much for watching. If you can like and subscribe, Before we went live, we had, I believe, 2,195 subscribers. I don't know if that's gone up since we've been live, but if we can get over the 2,200 mark, that would be very much appreciated. Go and check out Chat with Chaps. That was up on after the Ipswich game. Ben appeared on the Wednesday Week podcast. Go and check that out for his take on the game at the weekend. All that's left to say is, Joe, if you're watching, any of the players, if you're watching, it isn't very good at the moment, but we're behind you tomorrow. Come on, you Lions.
Bye for now.